Capital Market Union process should be reinvigorated and accelerated in parallel with the completion of the banking union. Common institutions, harmonized rules, transparent and cooperative behavior are the pillar of a competitive single market. Particularly in the financial sector, the soundness and resilience of the banks depends critically on the quality of corporate governance. The single supervisory mechanism reduces the remaining barriers in the Eurozone banking sector. Banks, not just those directly supervised by the ECB, are now faced with a highly competitive environment. To deal with the new challenging environment, the Italian government has introduced a long-awaited reform of major cooperative banks, the so-called Popolari, as a building block of a stronger banking system. At the end of December, the term expires for the transformation into limited companies of cooperative banks holding assets beyond 8 billion euro. In addition, the Bank of Italy has recently issued the implementing provisions of the reform of small and medium-sized cooperative banks. Now, these banks have the option to join a holding company, merging most of the current small and mid-sized cooperative banks, or, if they are large enough, they can switch to the limited companies regime. The new system exploits economies of scale, allows better use and allocation of skills, improves governance, and provides better market access while improving the management of non-performing loans. The role of corporate governance as a key element to restore confidence in capital markets has been recognized in the international fora. As we know, as you all know, the G20 has endorsed the OECD principles of corporate governance as the new global standard. The G20 OECD principles of corporate governance represents a shared understanding with respect to corporate governance standards and practices in areas such as transparency, disclosure, accountability, board oversight, shareholder rights, and the role of key stakeholders. Corporate governance issues are relevant also for SMEs, which represent the majority of firms and of the listed ones in Italy. It is crucial that the corporate governance regulation for SMEs be appropriate for such companies, so as to generate incentives to enter the capital market and boost dimensional growth. The Italian government has envisaged a scaled regulation according to the different stage and size of the companies. Additional measures should be and can be identified through legislation of self-regulation in order to simplify the system and facilitate SMEs' performance. Finally, concerning corporate governance at the EU level, let me mention the government's action on the proposal of revision of the Shareholder Rights Directive, whose key objectives are to improve the level and quality of shareholder rights, to improve the link between management pay and performance of the company, to ensure greater transparency of the shareholding for listed companies, to enhance transparency and fairness in related parties transactions which involve inherently a potential conflict of interest. The Italian framework has offered, during negotiations, a good practice benchmark, and now negotiations are close to conclusions. Also, I'd like to say thanks to the Italian contribution. Ladies and gentlemen, let me go back to my initial point. At times of high uncertainty, policy makers should lead change towards a more sustainable institutional and economic structure. Reforms are key to this effect. Effective reforms are the ones that facilitate change, support incentives to invest, and encourage taking a long-term perspectives for companies and households. The government continues in its reform strategy to boost confidence by providing resources and improving regulation. For this strategy to be successful, economic agents, companies, and investors should take advantage of the new rules and financial instruments made available to them. Thank you for your attention.